In sports, there's coaches of all kinds. No matter what the sport, there's always a coach associated. But people don't think about coaches when it comes to financial planning and what you're doing with your money. So we've had the opportunity to speak to Michelle Robertson. She's what you call a money coach, a financial planner, and she goes by Ms. Money and Math. She's going to join us right after this word from our sponsor. Michelle, a real pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too, Pat. Thank you so much
Oh,
for having me.
okay, Ms. Money and Math. It's got a hook to it, no question. How did you come up with that?
I don't know, it just came to me one day. I've always loved math. Like I did a stats degree and then money. Obviously, I'm an accountant. I was an accountant first before I become a planner. And I don't know, there was just a day when I knew I was going to build this business and it just came to me and I was like, that's what it's going to be. So, yeah.
It's got a hook, definitely, no question about it. Okay, you had a program. This is where I got interest. You had a program that used to be called 10 Weeks to Financial Fierceness.
Yep.
Now you've rebranded it, Her Freedom Fund. Tell me what this is.
Sure. Yeah. It's a 6 month program where I work with women inside of a container, basically helping them to heal their mindset, learn how to manage their money, because so many of us just never were given any systems or tools to like actually know where our money's going, and then teaching them how to grow their money and like build wealth. So it's a self-taught, but I do group coaching and there's a community. And yeah, so it's really fun. I've put about 300 women in the last 5 years. That's including 10 weeks to financial fierceness through that program and just seen amazing results of women just, changing their story and their trajectory around, financial freedom. So,
I wonder, there are so many women in the workforce right now, and they play huge roles in finance and other areas, obviously, as well. Why did
yeah.
you feel a need to create this for women?
Well, that's a great question. I think what women have been certainly in the investing arena. I think women have been underserved. I think that's getting better with time, but I think they've been underserved. And there are studies that have been done. It's been a little bit of time now where the media and actually speaks to women differently about money. They talk to women about focusing on saving and clipping coupons and all that kind of stereotypical stuff. And they talk to men about growth and, investing and things like that. And, we'll leave like all the systemic, the pay gaps and all of that stuff out of it. But it's been, I think for people in general, there's been so much shame and a lack of education around money, and I just wanted to focus and help women to create a safe space. I feel like women actually really grow better when they're in a community with other women. And so that's really where it came from. I wanted to start to break down that wealth gap that does exist. And that's how I decided to do it.
You talk about the stereotypical approach that goes with women, and
Mhm.
that's the cautious approach, the one where,
Yeah.
as you say, savings. But isn't that this is really chauvinistic to say it, but isn't it kind of a truism? Even my own relationship at home, my wife is more cautious than I am, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and they actually like, and I'm sure you know this, but women are actually better in like long-term investors than men are, because men take unnecessary risk, right? That's some of it. And like that's the testosterone versus the X chromosome, whatever. And so, but women are a lot more methodical, and women are actually more willing to ask for help than men are. And so I think that's some of it too. And I think the men struggle as well. I think there's an epidemic of a lack of financial literacy everywhere. But I think the women often are the ones who are willing to ask for the help and realize that they need support. Whereas I think there's a lot of shame for men, like, they're providers, right? Providers and protectors. So when they feel like they can't do something, they kind of fake it. And, I think some of them make it. And yeah, so there is a lot. There's a lot of
Yeah, the
trauma and shame
stereotypical.
wrapped around money, right?
It's like men asking for directions. It's just not going to
Right.
happen.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
stereotypical, but it's also kind of a truism out there.
Totally true.
Okay, so then let's break it down a little bit. What do you see as the biggest hurdle in educating not just women per se, but children and even other men.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it, I sort of touched on this already a little bit, but like there's been so much, we've had decades and decades of shame. Like, you don't talk about money. You shouldn't even want to desire money. Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? It's like there's just so much old programming around, if you're rich, it's because you came by money unvirtuously and all of that, which it's not true. Money is a tool, right? Wealth is a tool to help you live a life the way you wanted to live it. And so I think there's a bit of that. I think the education system has really failed us. And I mean, I think they're starting to introduce curriculum, but the problem is, we're in this phase now where our financial system is changing rapidly. In the next 5 years, things are going to be so different. So we've got this kind of outdated structure when, you think about what's happening right now and crypto and Bitcoin and all of that stuff too. It just hasn't caught up. And then when you layer all that other stuff on top of just years and years of all of that trauma, it's a challenge. And I think, we know governments and school systems, like they don't move as quickly, right? And now it's even, I think it's accelerating with AI and all of this, where we're going. I think the world is about to go through a change bigger than any of us have ever experienced in our lifetime. And how do you then keep up with that to try and, even get people caught up to one place? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does actually, and you're absolutely right about the degree of change. Let's go
Yeah.
back to one thing you just barely touched on. Artificial intelligence, I think, is fascinating because it has created leapfrogs in industry, in manufacturing, in all kinds of different areas.
Yep.
It's created leapfrogs in the way you write a letter to anybody these days.
Yeah.
But will it change financial advice? Is there an opportunity for women or children or males to use AI for financial advice, or does it always have to be kind of interpersonal and related that way?
I think it depends on your level of confidence. So I
Hmm.
think there's so much learning that people can do now, even just learning the basics, right? When I meet some people, like they're just so far back here that there's so much you can learn. But I think that confidence piece is really where people are still, I think, for a long time going to want to hear that from a human, especially when it comes to like a portfolio and planning for my retirement. And so we'll see where that goes. Like, we're so early in this AI thing. I mean, like I use it in my business to write emails for me, and like I dictate to it, like it's fantastic. But where's it going to be in 5 years? Who knows? Like it still does make mistakes. And I think that there is still a human element to financial planning and helping people with nuanced situations. But I think there's an amazing opportunity, kind of like the internet, but it's like the internet on speed, really, for you. If you know how to ask it the right questions, right, then it can teach you so much. And so I think there's a lot of the population that hasn't even really tuned into that yet. So I think, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. But I think it's going to be a lot of generations, I think, before, and we'll see what even happens with the AI to know, what it becomes.
You're a financial planner, and I wonder how much people come in your door and they say, "Hey, I saw this on a TV show. Should we be talking about that?" That's the
Mhm.
number one thing I'd like to ask you. But also, how do you yourself actually invest?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. So I kind of have a bunch of things going on, I guess. So, I mean, I broke up with the mutual fund thing long before I even became an accountant and all of that stuff. But
Time out. What do you mean you broke up with the mutual fund thing?
well, when I was in my 20s, I had mutual funds, and then
Oh,
I
I
figured
see. Okay.
out how expensive they were, and ETFs weren't here yet. So I traded stocks for a while, and then I was like, wow, this is a lot of work. And then ETFs came on the market. And so I trade my own, I do my own ETF. I have my own ETF portfolio, but I also have a Bitcoin portfolio. I have, so this is outside of kind of the traditional, you know, stocks and bonds market, but, and then I have some investment in like real estate development companies and things like that. So, but I do most of it myself. I have a little bit of my portfolio with Justwealth, and part of that is so that I can demonstrate to my clients what it looks like. But yeah, I do like to manage because I have sort of some alternative things in there that make sense for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you touched on Just Wealth, and they are the sponsor of this show.
Yeah.
But the advantage of Just Wealth and other robo-advisors is that
Mhm.
they're a convenient way to outsource, if you
Yeah.
will, your actual investments.
Yeah.
And when you're a novice, is that an important consideration, or should you just dive in?
Yeah, so it really depends. You know, I think it depends on two things. One, the size of your portfolio and the amount of time and interest and confidence, and that's four things, but that you have, right? So when people are just starting out and they have, if they have less than $100,000, often I just tell them, you know what? Learn a little bit, and just the keeping your fees really really low is you know, that's the hardest part, is building past that first $100,000. But as people get later on in life, you get, they get busier. You know, I meet with women all the time who are still in the, you know, teenage kids and all of that kind of stuff, the confidence thing. And I think as people get closer and closer to retirement, they want a little bit more of like, I know this is being managed properly. I know my allocation is adjusting. Like maybe that's not a piece I'm comfortable, or I'm going to want support going into retirement of like, how do I actually unravel this? Like, how do I actually now fund my retirement? So I think the earlier, if you are tenacious, you can do some of it yourself. And I think it's good for everyone. Like I teach everyone in that program, I teach like the landscape. And a lot of my clients do come out and say, I'm so glad I know that now. I'm not so blind, but I still don't want to manage it myself. And so I think it depends on the person. But as you get older, I think people see the stakes being a little bit higher and they just want that, you know, professional. They know someone's like, there's oversight. Yeah.
I just want one quick question about your actual clients.
Yeah.
In that it intrigues me who walks in the door to a financial planner. Is it, are you seeing more young people, or are you seeing, I don't know, recently widowed
Yeah.
women come in and ask for help?
Yeah, it's interesting. So when I first started marketing to my clients, it was sort of like I would work with women across Canada, 30 plus typically. But I would say the majority of my clients, and as I, you know, now I've been at this for over 5 years, all the majority of my clients are 45 plus, and I have like a handful of clients who are like women I'm meeting now who are coming to me, and I don't know if it's what my marketing people do with my ads or something, but you know, they're 60 plus, who so, or about to get into retirement, or maybe already there and looking for support, financial planning, portfolio management. And so, but I do have a big chunk of women as well, between 45 and 55 for sure. But it's starting to skew older for me. And I think some of that too, when people meet me, have met me or found me on Instagram, because that's kind of where people find me often. Um, you know, I feel like if you're 29 or 30, like you're probably listening to someone that's more at the same age and stage as you, and what you need to be thinking about at that time is different, right? And so I think likes like, and so I think that's also part of like naturally why, you know, I have women now that are the majority of them are 45 plus, but you know, up to 70.
Yeah, and you'll take anybody. Michelle, great to chat to you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, Michelle Robertson, Ms. Money and Math.